Kawhi Leonard is a player who's mostly avoided the spotlight from the mainstream media throughout his career. From his time in San Antonio to his current run in LA, the biggest complaint from fans has always been how many games he skipped because of injuries or load management. But can you really blame a guy for protecting his body and career, right? Still, things recently took a different turn. It all traces back to the Spurs' first clash with his uncle, Dennis Robertson, during the 2017-18 season, when Kawhi sat out the whole year under what Uncle Dennis called a quadriceps rehab program. And sure, he needed recovery time. But what wasn't acceptable was how shady they were with Kawhi's status, because he was medically cleared but refused to play. Now, with new reports suggesting that Kawhi Leonard is allegedly taking secret payments from Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, this could explode into one of the NBA's biggest scandals in years, while also exposing the shady negotiating tactics Kawhi and his inner circle have been using all along. Now all the hidden dirt is coming out, and in this video we'll break down the full controversy around Kawhi Leonard and how he ended up in this wild situation. I'm a fun guy, I just can't give you a whole speech. Music. The 2019 offseason. Kawhi signs with the LA Clippers. That same 2019 playoff run saw the Toronto Raptors win their first ever championship, with Kawhi Leonard carrying the team to glory. Many hoped he'd stay in Toronto and run it back, but his decision was already made. He wanted LA. And honestly, on paper, it makes sense for an NBA star to return home and be around his family and close friends. But was that really the reason Kawhi wanted LA? What most headlines ignored were stories like these. Reportedly, Kawhi's uncle, Dennis Robertson, was a nightmare to deal with. Quote, according to sources, Leonard and his camp, mainly Uncle Dennis, demanded way too much from the Raptors in that meeting. Stuff players don't usually even ask for in normal contract talks. Their demands were outrageous. Josh Lewenberg of TSN wrote, the Raptors contacted the league multiple times this season when they felt the Clippers had gone too far in their shady pursuit of Leonard. And it wasn't just the Raptors. The Lakers also spoke up, and remember, they were Kawhi's first choice. The Lakers said his camp's tactics were bizarre and flat-out sketchy. All of this was happening back in 2019, but nobody really cared because most assumed Kawhi was gone from Toronto no matter what. What this actually shows you, though, is that maybe he did want to stay at first, and by unreasonable requests. Maybe Kawhi and Uncle Dennis were really asking for secret payouts behind closed doors. The Raptors weren't willing to play that game, but the Clippers clearly were. After all, they've got the richest owner in sports who's willing to throw money at anything to get his stars. Maybe that's the real reason Kawhi chose the Clippers, because he knew extra money would come in outside his contract. Now let's bring up aspiration. The company Ballmer allegedly used to sneak Kawhi an extra $28 million to dodge the NBA salary cap. So, what kind of company is this? Here's the breakdown. Founded in 2013, they call themselves an environmentally conscious digital bank that sells carbon credits to big corporations by planting trees. I mean, really? That already sounds sketchy as hell. By 2020, they raised $250 million in funding. Then in 2021, Steve Ballmer himself pumped in $315 million of his own money to keep aspiration running. In 2022, they became a team sponsor and locked Kawhi into an exclusive $28 million endorsement deal. Some people claim the whole sponsorship was a scam, saying Kawhi did nothing for aspiration and it was just Ballmer, a major investor, slipping him money under the table. The truth is, Kawhi never showed up at any aspiration events or ads, while other players actually did. To be fair, the Clippers' social media did post things using Kawhi's name alongside aspiration, so maybe there was at least a small partnership where his name was used as a cover to plant more trees. Sure. But the bigger problem is this. Aspiration was meant to be a sponsor for the entire Clippers team. Yet somehow, Kawhi was the only one getting tens of millions on top of everything else. Why was he singled out for that massive payday? Interview. When Pablo Torre dropped this bombshell out of nowhere, most media outlets were slow to touch it. ESPN even waited almost a full day before mentioning it. Probably because if this story turned out false, it could destroy someone's career. But as more outlets started digging, more shady details came out, and every strange thing around Kawhi resurfaced. Aspiration only stuck around as a team sponsor for 2 seasons before collapsing into bankruptcy. By January 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice exposed that they weren't planting anywhere near the trees they promised. A year later, Aspiration went bankrupt as their co-founder Joe Sandberg was arrested on fraud charges. Yeah, that's a terrible look. Then, just 6 months later, Pablo Torre released his own investigation linking Aspiration and Kawhi Leonard, accusing Ballmer of secretly paying Kawhi without. It was even reported that Kawhi Leonard asked Toronto's owner, Larry Tannenbaum, to set up an extra $15 million in endorsement money during his 2019 free agency decision. So, keeping that in mind, none of this should really shock anyone. If these reports are true, it looks like a long-running pattern for Kawhi and the people representing him. We're talking all the way back to 2019, over half a decade, where teams trying to sign or keep him may have been forced to cough up illegal under-the-table money the NBA doesn't allow. Money that, if exposed, would absolutely bring fines or worse. And if any of these claims get proven, whether it's now or from past reports, then Kawhi Leonard himself could face punishment. That might mean a suspension, a fine, his contract and bird rights being voided, or even penalties for Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. Maybe all of it at once. There are huge implications here that could shake up the Clippers, and by extension the entire NBA, especially the Western Conference. Remember, a lot of people have them as a top 5, maybe even a top 3 team this season. Some even predict they'll bump the Lakers out of the top 3, competing with teams like the OKC Thunder, Denver Nuggets, and maybe even the Minnesota Timberwolves. But with these accusations and the punishments that could follow, how would that impact them? Well, if it meant losing Kawhi Leonard, whether through suspension or even having his whole contract voided, that would be a crushing blow to the team. But is it realistic? Honestly, probably not. Scandals this massive almost never hit the NBA. The last time we saw something on this level was about 25 years ago, when the Minnesota Timberwolves once lost 5 first-round draft picks, were fined $3.5 million, had Joe Smith's contract voided along with his bird rights, their owner suspended, and GM Kevin McHale forced to step aside. All for paying.
The minute aspiration was under investigation, I guarantee you, in the immortal words of Charles Barkley, I guarantee it, that the NBA took a hard look at it. And not only that, that Ballmer, if he did something illicit and under the table and tried to, work around the salary cap, then he's got to be bricks, right? Because at that point in time, he's the dumbest human being on the planet because he trusted these scammers to do something he knew was against all NBA rules. A, I just don't see that happening. B, the NBA would have found it easily. 3, and this alludes to the Steve Ballmer can't be that dumb thing. I mean, I guess and I've been scammed. Everybody's scammable. But in order for this to work, in my opinion, he has to trust that whole company. And at that point in time, he trusted them enough to give them an investment at some level, but I don't see how he would trust.
I just feel like a really smart guy can be so desperate to get a star player that justifies the entire mission of opening a privately funded stadium to compete with the Lakers specifically, who were competing with him. And in fact, when it comes to a bunch of scammers, who maybe he didn't know were scammers in 2021, but clearly saw them as aligned with him on, we're going to help you do what you want, to the point of him helping with business development. The whole idea of, did he have zero idea that these guys that he was dealing with on a day-to-day basis, CCing with the CEO of Intuit, according to emails that we found, is it possible that that guy would have no idea that they were paying $28 million for a no-show job to the guy who was his most valuable employee, while there was also simultaneously in that same timeline a $300 million 23-year contract being struck between the company, Aspiration, and Steve's baby, the Los Angeles Clippers, that also had in the document that we acquired, the contractual language, outs at every turn for him to not do anything. And in fact, none of it was ever reported until today. You're saying that that's plausible to you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, the that happened at the Mavs that I had no idea was happening. And people didn't think that that was marginally feasible because you can't pay attention to everything and every deal that you do.
Why did Kawhi Leonard take less money, do you think?
Maybe he had that deal in hand, and that was his reason. I don't know.
Under the table. I don't think we'll see that level of punishment again. In recent years, most tampering cases only cost teams a second rounder, maybe a first rounder at most. Nothing close to what the T-Wolves went through 2.5 decades ago. But if this Clippers scandal proves true, if Kawhi Leonard has really been pocketing secret money from Steve Ballmer, and if Ballmer even helped create a whole company just to funnel that cash, then we could see something similar, though probably not as extreme. As a Lakers fan, I'll admit, I'd love to see them punished. Not just because they're a Western Conference rival, but also because the Lakers themselves once tried to sign Kawhi. Back in 2019, reports claimed Uncle Dennis pushed the Lakers for under-the-table money or endorsement deals that would have been totally illegal. And let's be real, if the Lakers had actually signed Kawhi Leonard under those terms, the NBA world would have demanded they get slammed with punishment.
Let me just repeat, I don't know how much money they gave him.
Well, in the court documents and in Pablo's podcast, they report it was $28 million.
Pablo's podcast, I don't know anything about the court documents on this. I haven't seen them and I don't know. I'm not trying to be, I don't know. I really don't know. But the speculation is what it is. And why did they do that?
It's a lot of money. I mean, $28 million, $7 million a year is a lot of money for a guy that you didn't actually require to do anything.
I don't know why they did what they did, and I don't know how different it is. I really don't. And frankly, any speculation would be crazy. These are guys who committed fraud. How would I be able? Look, they conned me.
You're one of the richest men in America.
They conned me. I made an investment in these guys thinking it was on the up and up, and they conned me. At this stage, I have no ability to predict why they might have done anything they did, let alone the specific contract with Kawhi.
Probably worse than what the Timberwolves got 25 years ago. But you can bet the Clippers won't get hit nearly as hard, even if they're guilty. That's not fair. If Adam Silver wants to prove he's serious about the new CBA and these first and second apron rules, then he can't let this slide. You can't let teams cheat the system and still sneak under the apron. Yet the Clippers have managed to do it 2 years in a row. And if the only way they pulled that off was by funneling secret money to Kawhi Leonard, or maybe even other free agents they signed, then this is way bigger than just one player. That cannot be allowed. Otherwise, what's the point of even having a salary cap or a CBA? If the Clippers can just sidestep it with shady under-the-table deals and face no punishment, then why wouldn't every other team copy them? Why would the Lakers bother giving LeBron a full max contract when they could pay him $15 million less on paper, then slip him that $15 million or more through fake endorsement deals tied to a company their owner secretly funds and then runs into the ground? That way they'd have room to sign another star next to LeBron. Isn't that exactly what the Clippers may have done with Kawhi Leonard? If cheating the cap works and goes unpunished, then why should any team follow the rules? To me, that makes the whole system pointless. But hey, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. If the Clippers are found guilty, what kind of punishment do you think they'll get, or maybe should get? Do you think it'll just be a slap on the wrist? Or could it be something serious, like what the Minnesota Timberwolves got back in the day? And how do you personally feel about all this? The allegations tied to both Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. Do they look legit to you? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. But that's pretty much it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day or night.